Tyreek Hill will undergo surgery today to repair multiple torn ligaments in his dislocated knee. Wide out today.
It's a major knee procedure, multiple ligaments, and yeah, obviously his season's done. And our focus is, as a team, the major things that you want to avoid in something that serious was avoided.
Glad you're with us today. Dan Orlovsky's here, Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes as well. Dan, you were in the building last night when that happened. What was it like?
It was tough to watch. You can immediately feel the kind of gravity of it, the air of the moment kind of get lifted because everyone saw what looked to be pretty severe end of that. And I can't imagine his emotions. He handled himself really well leaving. My thought was in the game, how does the team respond? Like, how do the teammates respond? Sometimes that could just completely distract you from one of the reasons you're there is to play a game. And I was also very impressed with the Dolphins as a team for the way that they were able to compartmentalize, play the game, and try to, at least in that moment, move forward.
Yeah, they got their first win of the season and did a nice job. Marcus, we know Tyreek's impact, but when you think about it from the defensive standpoint, how much easier is it to take on that offense if he's not on the field?
Yeah, they lose a lot. I mean, in your week of preparation, he is the guy that you're pointing to saying we can't allow Tyreek Hill to wreck this football game. And you try to come up with plans and schemes to keep him intact. Now, a lot of people have tried it, and they still got
right
knocked out by Tyreek. But I think a lot of it just is an adjustment, especially with Tua, right? You make easy throws to Tyreek, and you get explosive plays. Yeah. And you push the ball down the field, and he creates a way to take the top off of a defense to open up other areas of the football field. So you miss a lot. Just by him being on the field beyond his playmaking. The one thing I did like was Darren Waller got involved last night. Yeah. And I think he can become a guy that can kind of dictate some coverages.
Without Hill, the offense is actually going to look like a lot similar to what we saw last night. It's all about misdirection, getting the defense direction, getting the defense flowing one way, going horizontally in the other direction. Tua was 7 for 7 on crossers. They clearly identified that against the Jets man coverage being a weakness. But 6 of those throws were not to Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle, Malik Washington, Darren Waller, all 3 of those guys have pull-away speed. And I think Mike McDaniel is really good at using bunch concepts, those concepts, but they still do have a lot of speed on this offense, and they have a very accurate quarterback who I thought played quite well last night.
I think a big part of this is Jalen Waddle ready to take that big step forward? He's kind of been that 1B benefactor, Tyreek getting so much attention. Can he emerge as a guy? Waller's a big piece. Those 2 young backs in Achane and Ollie Gordon are big. I just think, to Mina's point, last night we saw a style that was different in their offense. Tua was under center, 17 snaps last night. That's very different for this football team. I'm not telling everybody that I think they're going to go on this run and win the AFC East. And this injury is impactful. There's no doubt. But I do think that there were some things last night, formula-wise, of underneath the center, running the football, some of those bootlegs to get Tua. Tua was hit twice last night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Twice.
Yeah. Dio, let me ask you this question, bro. Do you think it's a sense within this offensive staff now to dig a little deeper into their concepts and the things that they want to do to try to create what this misdirection you're talking about?
I know it is. Yeah. That's not
the injury does that.
Absolutely. And that was something that every person that we talked with, Mike McDaniel, Tua, they all said, we can't live in the shotgun, throw it versus 2 high shell anymore. We have to make the run game part of our offense. We have to try to – Mike McDaniel's saying was, I can't allow defenses to play it safe and win. Play that shell. And so I think there was the philosophy of running the football more even before this injury and allowing their offensive line to fire off the football. It was a good start to that last night.
Let's hear from Tyreek Hill. New on NFL Live, he shouted out his supporters before heading into surgery today. Take a listen.
All right, guys. Tyreek Hill here, the cheetah, about to go in for this surgery. Keep your boy in your prayers. You guys have been awesome, man. Fans Nation, just the whole entire NFL have been amazing. You know, sending me lots of love, lots of prayers, and I'm absolutely honored, man. You know, granted the situation, but I love you guys so much, and hope to see you soon.
Dan, you said it. The way he's handled all of this has been commendable. All right, let's show you what happened in the game. Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins taking on Justin Fields and the Jets on Monday night. Dolphins entered last night as one of 10 teams since 1933 to start a season 0-3 without forcing a turnover. The 2025 Jets were also on that list, but after having a -5 turnover differential in their first 3 games, Miami forced 3 Jets turnovers and didn't give the ball away themselves in the victory. All right, it was a doubleheader on Monday night. We also had the Bengals take next, finding R.J. Harvey walks it into the end zone for the touchdowns. Broncos get a big win, 28-3. Now, the Bengals blitzed Bo Nix on 9 dropbacks last night. Denver did a great job picking it up as he faced only 1 pressure. On those 9 blitzes, Nix went 7 for 9 for 101 yards with all 7 completions going for first downs. He averaged more than 14 yards per completion on those throws. I caught up with running back J.K. Dobbins after the win and asked him about his quarterback. What can you say about the way that this offense functioned tonight, specifically with quarterback Bo Nix?
He played a very good game. We're going to keep building on it. And I know, he's had some games where he's like wondering, but it's always going to come. He's got to keep chipping away, and that's what he did. And I'm happy to see him do that tonight.
You are the first 100-yard rusher for the Broncos in the Sean Payton era. What does that mean to you?
That means a lot. That means a lot to me. I'm going to keep working hard. Hopefully, I can go like 150 or 200 one of these days. I can't do it without my teammates, though, so I'm so blessed to be here, and I love it here.
What a
He's great.
I didn't know he was that funny.
He's awesome. He also said in that interview that Sean Payton is his favorite coach. So, and I see why. They're very close. All right, Mina, do you like what you saw from the Broncos offense last night?
Well, I really liked what I saw from the guy we just watched, J.K. Dobbins, and that run game, which is so important for Denver, because coming into this, they had not been running the football well, and there was the expectation this offseason. You have this incredible offensive line that was one of the best run-blocking offensive lines in football last year. They changed up the running back room to Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, and it would take off, and it just hasn't. But in this game, he had a 69% success rate on the ground, 0 run stuffs. Obviously, some of that had to do with the level of competition. But it's so important, Dan, because of the nature of the passing offense as well. This is a passing offense that is built on Bo Nix booting out from under center, right? It's boots and nakeds. They cut the field in half. Defenses have started to play that super aggressively. I'm sure you've noticed these defensive linemen peeling out on Nix. They have to be able to punish them for it on the ground. And so to see them do that is really good. It's going to really help the passing offense as well. And that, to me, is the vision going forward. This is based on the run game and Bo Nix building off of that.
Yeah, the good stuff last night was that run game. The good stuff was Bo Nix. His feet looked a lot more calm than it had for a couple times, or at least early in games this season. I thought the 4x1 stuff that they got to last night was really good, and the different things they did out of it. Sometimes these teams run 4x1 and they're running the same play over and over and over again. You saw a gap scheme. You saw a little bit of a keeper for their offense. You saw RPO. So I liked some of their 4x1 stuff. I really did. That being said, I also didn't love the pass protection. I thought that the pass protection against a pass rush that's not very good was a little too leaky. It was leaky in week 3. It was leaky again in week 4. I think that's something just to pay attention to moving forward. That offensive line, I think, is better in pass protection than it has played in the last 2 weeks. That's got to be solidified a little bit. Quarterback and his feet, calmness have to help it. They got to go together. But there was more pressure than I had anticipated in that game.
Yeah, not that this is related, but there were a ton of penalties on both sides. There were a bunch of penalties on the Broncos.
I heard.
I'm like, woo, what a game. What a night.
Y'all had a bunch of them.
Yeah, we definitely did. Marcus, we did show you the Nick Benito sack.
Yeah.
What stood out to you about the other side of the ball for the Broncos?
Just the way they're able to generate pressure. And listen, man, I know we've said it and we've talked about this guy. No, Patrick Surtain is out of his mind coaching people. dude. Like, and again, you want to get Jamar Chase the ball as much as possible, but they figured that if we can take care of one, we can get pressure on this quarterback and make Jake Browning uncomfortable. Now, this goes into multiple conversations that I've had with Dan and MK about the Cincinnati Bengals. I've been asking, like, they give themselves no chance. The way that they play football now, especially against a team like this that can create pressure, runs those games up front. And the pressure that is put on the offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals is unfair.
Yeah.
It's unfair to ask them time and time again to try to not only sort where these things are happening as a defensive line. It's not only too much pressure for pressure that defenses create, and they know that they are either trying to push the ball downfield to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. How can we get those guys taken out of the game and we can tear the quarterback out the frame? And that is the issue for for Cincinnati right now. This is a Zach Taylor problem to me. It's not so much about this football team.
You mentioned Surtain. I just want to take a minute to shout out Riley Moss, his partner at quarterback, because their entire game plan was let's just throw fades at T. Higgins and see if he comes down with any of them against Riley Moss.
Early.
And I thought he held his own in this one. I mean, T's got like four inches of height on him, and he gets targeted a lot. That's the misfortune of playing opposite Patrick Surtain. But I feel like he is getting healthy. That was an issue at the end of last year, and I thought this was a tremendous performance from the cornerback too.
Man, shut him down. There's no other way to.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would like something more than, hey, let's just throw 7 deep balls on 32.
Yeah, right.
I'd like a little bit more creativity in there, but.
Let's keep an eye on it. Again, Joe Burrow's out for 3 months-ish. We're waiting to find out exactly how much. To the season, and a lot of it has had to do with the defense, okay? In the last 50 seasons, there have been 2 defenses to start a season with 4 straight games forcing at least 3 turnovers, including 2 interceptions. One is this year's Jaguars. The other is the 1996 Packers, who did it in 6 straight games to start their Super Bowl winning season. Dan, why has Jacksonville defense been so successful so far this season?
Outside of those turnovers, I think 3 things. Number 1, Jordan Lewis. His addition to their defense and playing the nickel has been a big deal. His understanding of run concepts, how he can get skinny or underneath blocks and make tackles, has been a big deal. Number 2, they got heavy-handed defensive ends. Josh Hines, Allens, and Travon Walker, those dudes set the edge. You're not getting the ball to the perimeter much in their run game. They are sticking that hand out and keeping their outside arm free. And then gap integrity. This is called the pirate stunt with that defensive line. But then somebody's got to keep the ball inside, and those backers got to fit it the right way with that inside shoulder and a scrape over the top. I know that the turnovers, maybe not as roller coaster ridey. You're not going to get that many to bank on, but I do think that there's been an improvement with how they're playing the fundamentals of their defense, and they fly around and hit you.
Roller coaster ridey. I like that one.
Roller
That's a new
coaster
one.
ride.
That's good. Let's go to Kansas City.
Ride.
Their next opponent
Thank you.
to the Chiefs offense. They got a much-needed boost with the return of Xavier Worthy this past week. Here's Patrick Mahomes on just how much it meant to their offense.
Yeah, he's just so explosive. I mean, you just see it when you get the football in his hands, man. It just makes the defenses have to adjust, and when they adjust, it's like he gets so much attention on him. Other guys can make plays happen, and so just having him out there, not only for his physical ability, but just the morale of the room, I thought it was huge.
Marcus, what stood out to you most in his return?
Touches for Xavier Worthy and how explosive he was, no matter how you wanted to get him the ball. I think he's evolving as a route runner as well. That was one of the things coming out of college, creating some separation, learning how to use all of the leverage that he's starting to create. He was phenomenal in this football game. He showed a repertoire of things that he can do in order to make this offense better, and here it is with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to get Rashee Rice back healthy. Xavier Worthy, Marquise is out there now, and now this team is starting to look very familiar. Also, changing some things conceptually. I got to give D.O. credit, as much as I hate it, for talking about what they needed to do offensively, but you saw them get to some of that, having that speed demon back out there on the football field.
I like that the fist bump happened in his shot, but then we went to yours. And,
Good job, man.
And I had to look.
Yeah. It was like, wait. Put them together.
There's a difference in the fist size.
Where is it? Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. Sorry, Tim. We're killing our director.
Big, man. You
All
got
right.
bear
The
paws.
Falcons came alive with some big plays in their 34-27 win over the Commanders. Michael Penix Jr. averaged 12 yards per pass attempt on Sunday, the highest mark by a quarterback with at least 20 attempts in a game this season. It's actually the third highest by a Falcons QB in a game going back to 2000, trailing two Matt Ryan performances in 2016. Ryan won MVP and took Atlanta to the Super Bowl that season. Mina, what was the biggest difference in this Falcons offense on Sunday?
I mean, there were a couple great performances, obviously Bijan, Cowpis, but this was the Drake London breakout game we've been waiting for this season. True three-level threat. Couple things stood out to me. One, how much he was aligned in the slot. I think that's where he's at his best. 6 of his 10 targets were from the slot, and you saw him continuously win there. And then finally, they used him on some in-breakers. I have been complaining constantly on how much this offense is dependent on outbreakers, but they had Drake London run the in-cut on the dagger concept. He's so good at those routes, and then a slant aligned wide. More of that, more of Drake London in the slot, more of throwing over the middle of the field, please.
I think you tweeted about this, didn't you? Did
Well, everyone in
somebody tweet?
Atlanta hates me.
Well, yeah.
But no, I agree. Like Drake's
Come on,
been in the
Dan.
slot for like 2 years now. That's where he's been his best. I thought Bijan was insane as well. Bijan had 3 or
Insane.
4. He was
Insane.
great blocking. You know, Drake London's willingness to be a blocker.
Oh, this is so true.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
outstanding. I also
Really
think
good.
just like Bijan's ability to break tackles, man. Like it's not like Bijan breaks a tackle and it goes for 2 or 3 more yards. There were multiple times where he broke an arm tackle and went for like 15 or 20. They were explosive. They were very explosive on Sunday. I don't think Washington's defense was great, but that was a really good performance by that offense.
All right, we'll see if they can keep it up. Still to come, the injuries for the Ravens continue. Hey, a bad season got worse over the weekend when Lamar Jackson was forced to miss the end of Sunday's loss to the Chiefs with an injured hamstring. John Harbaugh given an update yesterday saying the injury precluded Jackson to return to the game, and it didn't matter that the game wasn't close. Quote, there was no way he could have gone back in that game. We should get our first real update on all of this tomorrow when the Ravens return to practice. We'll let you know what the timetable looks like, of course, here on NFL Live. Marcus, even though before the injury, the Ravens were struggling, what do you see as the biggest issue for Baltimore?
I don't know what Todd Monken is doing. I really don't. There is a tremendous amount of evidence that if you let Derrick Henry dictate games, this offense works better.
Yeah.
And him and Lamar dictating games with whether it's sleight of hand or whatever. Look at this on the season. 48 carries, 49 carries, tied for 24th. He's 8th in rush yards on those limited carries. He's tied for 6th with touchdowns and 20-yard rushes, 4, tied for 1st. And we left a game against the Kansas City Chiefs with 8 total carries in a game for Derrick Henry. Now, this has been a part before Derrick Henry showed up. Y'all know I almost lost my damn mind about the AFC Championship game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the number of runs that the backs had as the number 1 rushing team in the league that season. So again, go ahead.
Do you think or expect it to be different once Likely's back consistently and Ricard comes back?
But Dan, I understand that, and I agree with you on that. But what's your best formula right now? You have to play for what's going on.
Right.
You got 7 people injured on defense, and you consistently want to push the ball down the field.
And you're not winning.
And you're not
coverage.
winning doing that. So again, I understand the draw to want Lamar to make plays and push the ball down the field. You did not sign this man to be tied for 24th in carries 5 weeks into the season.
That's a good point.
And if his career wasn't made on volume, we wouldn't have this argument. He gets better the more touches he has. That's been the case since he showed up to Baltimore and when he was in Tennessee.
So I think, not that I don't disagree that they shouldn't be running more. I think part of the issue is they're not running it well. They're not efficient at all. And I've been kind of trying to figure out why, Marcus, and some of the reasons for that. And there's a litany of it. I don't think they're blocking quite the way that they used to. I think the Ricard absence is huge. The more I went back and watched some of those runs, and it not only is it big in the run game, but I also think it's affecting their passing game, not as a pass catcher, but going back last year, when they had Ricard on the field, So when they were in 20, 21, 22 personnel, two backs, they had a 69% play action rate. If you're looking at this offense now and you're wondering why aren't they play actioning as much as they used to, and this was the case in the Chiefs game even before it got out of hand, I really think they usually get to a lot of their play action concepts with Ricard on the field. And it seems like removing him from this formula has sort of gotten them all out of sorts with their personnel groupings and their tendencies out of it. And I say that not to say that it's not fixable. It is. It just feels like they have to alter their offense now and accept that they live in a new reality without having two running backs on the field the way they did in the last few years.
Yeah, man. By the way, Ricard, they're still kind of saying week to week. There's no clear timetable on his return. Dan, on the other side of the ball, there's lots of concerns for the Ravens defense. The injuries are a major piece of this, but what does the tape show you?
This is probably the most head-scratching team through 4 weeks in the NFL on both sides, and I would say defensively, the amount of blown coverages or people out of position is just jarring. You're playing man coverage up top. They run 2x2 RPO in Kansas City. Everyone kind of knows that's the case. Both linebackers fire. There's nowhere anyone remotely close to that slant. This is the one that blew my mind. Down in the red zone, they're in man coverage. No one's even remotely close to covering the back. Both linebackers are just standing in the middle of the field. That's a completely blown coverage on third down, but it's man. This is one Thornton, speed guy at the number 3 down the seam. There's a linebacker. Either you carry him or Kyle Hamilton, who has no one pushing vertical at the bottom of the screen, knows he has to close significantly sooner. And for a team that is, in many ways, like so experienced, so veteran-laden, the amount of times that I say blown coverage or out of position or poor communication or late to your responsibility, that's why it's so head-scratching that this group that is as talented and as experienced and as kind of the reality of expectation to consistently beat yourself is very odd to see from that organization.
The Ravens now have a 47% chance to win the AFC North, according to ESPN Analytics. It was a 67% chance after week 2, but the analytics take into consideration some of the things that are going on here and the way they've looked. All right, let's get to some top stories here as we carry on. Tyreek Hill tore ligaments in his dislocated knee during last night's win over the Jets. Our Adam Schefter spoke to his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, who said today's surgery went well. So what's next? Rosenhaus said it's about rehab and he will play next season. The realistic goal is the start of the season. It's interesting. Wow. All right, J.J. McCarthy could return to practice for the Vikings as early as this week. That, according to head coach Kevin O'Connell today. McCarthy, of course, suffered a high ankle sprain in the team's Week 2 loss to the Falcons. The Vikings play the Browns in London this week before a bye in Week 6.
Their offensive line better get healthy because the interior part of that group is poor.
Goodness. Hey, to San Francisco next. Brock Purdy missed practice on Monday. GM John Lynch was on the radio today, said they will take every precaution to make sure Purdy is all right. Neither Purdy or Ricky Pearsall practiced today as the team gets ready to play in L.A. against the Rams on Thursday night. That's all of the latest. There's my camera. Hello. All the news that you need to know about, and we've got more coming to about what went wrong for some of the losing teams from the weekend. Let's start with the Niners, whose perfect start comes to an end after losing to the Jags on Sunday. Mina, what went wrong for San Francisco?
Well, Brock Purdy turning over the ball is a big part of this, but I'm going to go to the other side of the ball. We wanted to see how this pass rush looked without Nick Bosa. Not great so far. Unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence was rarely pressured in this one. 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits. The only Niners pass rusher who had more than one pressure was Bryce Huff. None of the defensive tackles registered a pressure. This is going to be a problem for them moving.
Chicago Bears special teams, just if that was the tell, that they timed it absolutely perfectly as the game went on.
Smart of the long snapper there, too, to call it out. All right, let's go to Tampa, where the Bucs' perfect season has come to an end after losing 31-25 to the defending champions Sunday. The Bucs have been slow starters this season, ranking 28th in the NFL in yards per game in the first half this season, but they've woken up at halftime, ranking in the top 3 in the league in both yards gained and yards allowed in the second half. Tampa's going to fly cross country to Seattle for Week 5. Marcus, you see the numbers there. Why do you think the slow starts have been an issue for the Bucs?
I'm not sure. I mean, you look at the run game early in games. Buck Everett didn't get going. Really, in the pass game is where he was dominant in this last game against Philly, finding those matchups. If it's not going to be the run game, find those matchups earlier. This team has had to be the cardiac kids for the 4 games that they played and almost worked themselves back into an opportunity again to have a chance to win the football game. But they have to figure out a formula to get Bucky. Look, Egbuka on the scene, obviously Mike being out with the hamstring. Bucky Irvin is the key driver to what you do from an offensive standpoint as far as touches and trying to get him to be dominant. Do it a little bit early. If that is the passing game, let's find ways to get him out in space so he can create. The dude is a phenomenal football player, and he can impact the game beyond being in the backfield. So do it earlier.
Yeah, they can't run the ball the way they did last year. They were 5th in rushing success rate last year, 23rd this year. And watching back some of those field runs, it's the offensive line. This is, to me, is where the injuries are showing up, right? Luke Goedeke, their right tackle, I hope I said his name right, has been out. Tristan Wirfs came back from injury. Cody Mauch has been out. And they're still trying to run the same stuff. It's a lot of counter. But when you go back and you watch them against these Eagles, especially the 6-1 fronts that they run, they're just not displacing any bodies on those gap runs. And Bucky's having to bounce runs. And everything starts with that run game for them. So for me, this is really just about the offensive line getting healthy to resume that. It's not a schematic thing. It's not about the backs. I think once their offensive line is healthier, they can get back to running the ball the way they did last season.
Yeah, I would say in this game particularly, they were just a bad matchup against Philly because they were down their receivers. Because everyone knows the weakness in Philly's defense is trying to get to really corner 3, right? Yep. But that means you got to play in like 11 personnel, and you got to have those 3 wide receivers on the field. With some of the injuries, you're only in really 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends, and so then you're really only seeing Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell at the corner position. So I think that's one of the things that stands out about the game is like you're trying to find that matchup to that cornerback 3, but Mitchell and DeJean are on your wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. Yeah. I think that's also something to pay attention to moving forward with Philly's defense is I want to get them in nickel, at least with that outside corner not being DeJean. But I also don't want to live in 11 personnel versus their defense. I think that's kind of if they had their full house of wide receivers, I think they would have had the more matchup success.
And they exploited a little bit.
Yeah, they just didn't match up because of the injuries well against those 2 corners. I think you can make the case that those 2 corners, at least from an offensive perspective, I think they're playing as good as any corners in the NFL, both of them.
Yeah, they're stacked, the Eagles.
They can cover, man.
The only, to your point, the Rams were the only one that could exploit it.
Yeah.
They found that Devontae matchup, and they went to work.
Yeah. They got some pretty good ones over there, too, with Devontae and Puka. All right, still ahead. Back to Monday Night Football, where the Jets lost on the road to Miami. Ooh, jet lag. Goodness. Jets reporter Rich Cimini. Oh, that's good, Dan. Making note here about what he heard from outside the locker room, post-game posting, hearing a loud voice through the wall of the Jets locker room as we sit in the press room. Sounds like an angry Aaron Glenn screaming at the team. The Jets then addressed the media, and the emotions were raw. This music. Okay. Oh, it stopped. All right, Mina. Aaron Glenn, known for his defensive expertise, but we haven't seen any improvement with that unit. Why is the Jets' defense struggling so much?
Discipline, eye discipline in particular, really struggling with misdirection. When offenses use motion, they're allowing the 2nd worst DVOA in football, second only to the Dallas Cowboys defense. Though that has been an issue for them. They also play a ton of man coverage, 6th most in the NFL. Fantastic job of attacking their tendencies last week at the 2nd level of the defense. They're too talented, I think, to be playing with this little eye discipline, but it's something that opposing teams are just going to keep attacking over and over until they prove they can stop it.
Yeah, watching that game and calling it live, it was shocking how they continue to make the same mistakes that they did in the first 3 weeks. Because the tape said 2 things. 1, just really poor at leveraging the football. And then 2, really poor at tackling. And so we talked to Aaron Glenn about it, and he was like, there's no doubt we emphasized it this week. And point blank said, we will start to win when we eliminate stupid. And I'm not calling those players like dumb intellectually, but the amount of penalties, the amount of times that the Dolphins would motion over and the defenders playing man coverage stayed on the same level and ran into each other. And that was just, and I was thinking about it listening to all the comments from everybody in the players post-game. This has got to come from Aaron Glenn. Because there's not a ton of veteran experience on this football team. Young for the most part at your receiver. Young for the most part at their offensive line. Young at their skill group in the backfield. Young on their back end for the most part. young at the defensive line. Like, this is a very young football team. And Aaron Glenn, thankfully, has the experience of being part of Detroit when it was starting to go up, and then 3-13 their first year, 1-6 their second year. Are they going to get fired? And then it finally went over that hump. And his experience in that is going to be pivotal for this football team, because they have to get so much more disciplined on the controllables before they really, really, really start to say, all right, let's string together a couple wins.
I'm nervous about the quarterback.
In what regard?
Just the ability to push the ball down the field with anticipation. And I get it. Like, I understand that, you know, when you're looking at the all-22 and Dan, some of these throws have to be made. I don't, like, you said this to me multiple times, and I agree. The best ones put it in harm's way sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think Justin plays so safe to not make a mistake that it limits the ability of this offense at times. Last night, Breece Hall had some really good runs last night. They were able to do things explosive-wise. And I have to stop being so enamored with Justin Fields' legs and think about the quarterbacks that actually win games in this league.
Okay.
So go ahead. I'm not castigating the dude. I'm not saying that he can't get better, but we've had this conversation for a long time about Justin Fields.
Yeah, I have no idea what castigating means.
Yeah, that means like talking bad about.
All right. I don't think anybody should expect Justin Fields to be a crazy anticipation thrower. I don't think he's ever going to be.
Can you win like that?
I think you can win like that. I don't know if you're going to be an AFC championship contender, but Marcus, he had 350 yards of offense last night. You know, so, and also, go ahead, NK.
Oh, no. I mean, I just think he was really low on the list of reasons that I thought they lost last night. He even had a great throw taken off unfairly off the board, in my opinion, on a kind of shaky OPI. I actually thought he played pretty well.
I don't know. My prism as a defensive player is the only thing scares me about Justin Fields is his legs. Honestly, like I don't go into a game thinking that he's going to throw us out of this game.
I don't think that's unfair, but I think the Jets are comfortable with that. Like, we know what he is.
That's fine.
And they think they can win games in that style.
I got you. But when the litmus test comes from the NFL, the dudes that are able to throw it with anticipation win games.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, when you have Garrett Wilson and
that would be my one complaint last night.
Not enough.
Well, I would tell you this. They still struggle to pick up pressure, so that has to become a thing. They got to force feed him the ball. He's the one guy in their offense that is dynamic. They didn't throw him the ball enough.
By the way, castigate, the official definition is to reprimand severely.
Wait, that's a real word?
Yes.
I'm dead
Dan, you castigate
serious.
people all the time.
I dead serious thought you just took two words.
We learned a lot at LSU.
Oh, there it is. Castigate. We'll see you tomorrow on NFL Live, as
I thought
always.
that was not a real word.